Welcome back, Poozers, to Green Lantern's podcast. I am your host, Green Lantern Will Smith of Sector 2814. And today, I'm sharing you news about an exclusive Funko and give you my thoughts on what James Gunn had to say about Green Lantern. On December 6th, Myron Rumsey from blogofoa.com posted an article about a Walmart exclusive Funko team-up that featured Green Lantern Alan Scott, who was the Earth's first Green Lantern. Myron writes, "The figure is a representation of Alan Scott's debut in All-American Comics number 17 from 1940. I could be in the wrong here, but the image of the Funko itself shows the comic in the background, and it has a number 16 on it. Not the most important detail, but I wanted to give you what I could see as well. The look of the lantern is the classic Alan Scott look. Red shirt, black and green cape, black mask, and red boots. You can only pre-order the Funko from Walmart, and it has a release date of January 2023. The price of the Funko is $19.88 before taxes. While I have you here, if you're looking for links to any of the information I'm providing, the links to both the Walmart website for the pre-order, as well as the blogofoa.com link, will be in the description of the podcast. I personally purchased mine just a few days ago, and I already got my email from Walmart that said that the Funko would be delivered on a Friday, January 27th of 2023. I would expect if you order yours now, it would deliver around the same date unless they go crazy with pre-orders, at which point I would assume it would just delay it a little bit. Now moving on to James Gunn. On October 25th, the HollywoodReporter.com had one of the craziest exclusive news drops of the year. James Gunn and Peter Safran were going to lead the film, TV, and animation division and assume the title of co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios. It's a new division at Warner Brothers, and it is replacing DC Films. James Gunn hasn't been on the job long, but in his short time, they have been advertising new heroes, scrapping movies, or asking the scripts to be rewritten completely on a project like Wonder Woman 3. And there have been plenty of rumors about Superman and Batman floating around ever since this very shakeup. HBO has been tasked with making a Green Lantern television show for HBO Max, and right around the time this news came out about Gunn, it was announced that the show itself was getting a shakeup. Instead of three main lanterns, set in two different eras, they were moving away from Alan Scott, Bree Jarta, and Guy Gardner to make the show focus on Jon Stewart. It was also revealed during this time that there would be a budget cut on the show. Because of this, fans of the show, like myself, were very nervous about the direction of Green Lantern under the new regime, and Gunn, who is beyond active on Twitter and had said nothing at all about Green Lantern up until this time. On Twitter, at Dr. Dark Archer asked James Gunn if we were going to see Superman, and that we have been starved of Superman content for ages, to which James Gunn had replied, "Yes, of course. Superman is a huge priority, if not the biggest priority." At Zach J. Baker followed that up with, "What about the almighty Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern?" And Gunn, funnily enough, wrote back, "That's not a priority for me, and even much less of one for Ryan Reynolds." Even as a joke, this is the first comments Gunn has made about Green Lantern at all. At Faraz, and then a bunch of numbers, then pressed further and wrote, "James, what about Green Lantern content?" And he only wrote back with one word, but it carried weight for me. He simply wrote, "Important." And while that might seem like a minor or silly thing to folks, knowing how he feels about my favorite hero, or heroes, of all time does make a difference to me. He is currently plotting out the next few years, and it gives me hope, a lot of hope, that Green Lantern will continue to be a part of it, if not maybe a bigger part of the brand for DC going forward. And I am here for that. That is all from me for now, but later this week or early next week, we will have an update about a video game that will have a Green Lantern character inside of it that could be a little bit exciting. And I'm also working on a podcast episode that is everything that we know about the Green Lantern TV series from when it started up until now, all in one. If anything changes between now and then, I will have the Guardians summon us all the way to Oa for our next meeting. Until then, make sure your rings are charged and your batteries are looking good. If you want to link up with me off of Oa, I can be found around Sector 2814 on social media at Lanterns Podcast, or on Reddit at Green Lanterns Podcast without the apostrophe. And while I've already mentioned Blog of Oa during this podcast, and I will continue any resource I find that gives me information about anything that I'm talking about during these podcasts will continue to be linked in the description of the podcast. I'd also like to point out a very healthy Green Lantern handle in the fandom, and that would be at LanternCast on Twitter, which is also a podcast that has been running for well over 10 years now at this point, which I think is just tremendously amazing and really cool. But we've been having a back and forth exchange on Twitter, and it was over other cool creators in the community, such as Blog of Oa being one, and the Emerald Echo podcast, and, they link to all that. And I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to the LanternCast for taking the time to reply back to me and try to help me as a newbie in the fandom find some other quality creators. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light.